Okay, so we're going to be building a still life in this video. I'm gonna do a little demo of building a still life, and you can do this easily at home with whatever you have available. The first thing that we'll want to do is have some sort of cloth in the background, and you can use like an old pillowcase. If you don't have something like that, you can just use a t-shirt, like a solid color t-shirt, or two t-shirts, or a sheet from your bed, or whatever. So I have this old curtain that I found that I'm going to use, and I want my drape, we're going to call this a drape, I want my drape to be here that my still life is sitting on, but I also want it up here a little bit. So since I don't want to put holes in my wall, I am just going to use a book. I'm going to prop the book up, and I'm going to put part of my fabric over it and make like a little backdrop. And I have some extra here because I'm going to want to play with this a little. I'm just doing this on like a little dresser. You could do it on a table, on whatever. You could even set something up on your floor, you know, against your wall. So whatever works for you that you can be comfortable drawing in front of. Okay, so when I make my still life, I want to have objects at different levels. It's nice to have different baselines. So what I'm going to do is I have just like a little butter container. I'm going to put that under here, and then I have like a little box, a little game, put that there. And so now all of a sudden, instead of just having one level to put stuff on, I have 3 different levels. So I can have like a little kind of dynamic activity with different baselines. We would call this a baseline and a baseline and a baseline. So I'm going to choose some objects. When you're choosing objects, here are some things that I would like you to include. I'd like you to have something that's glass. So here I'm going to use these two little glass objects. I would like for you to have something that's organic. Organic meaning natural, not man-made. So I'm going to put a little stick in here. I found this little seed pod. That in there, and then from my lemon tree, that this was on the ground, an unripe lemon. So these are 3 organic objects, and which means that they're not going to be perfectly symmetrical or perfectly made. They're going to have little quirks to them because they're natural objects. And then I want to contrast it with some man-made objects. So I'm going to put this little metal bird figure that I have, stick that in there. Here's the top of my jar. So not only do I want something glass, but I want something metal as well. So I'm going to have this little metal cap as a metal object, and then I have this kind of funky spoon. I'll put that spoon there. And the reason that I want you to have some metal and glass things is because they're really reflective, and they really split values into high contrast, really darks, really lights, easily readable. So, and then we're going to contrast that with our natural objects. So this could be like my little still life. It's got some nice variety of texture. It has variety of surface and a variety of reflectiveness. One thing I want to talk to you about is local tone. So when you look at this still life, everything is pretty easily readable from each other because the local tones are different. Local tone is just the overall tone of something, whether something is dark, medium, or light. So for instance, this lemon that is not ripe, it's green, has a dark local tone, and the fabric has a light local tone. An easy way to check local tones is if you squint your eyes. if you squint your eyes, it sort of accentuates value differences. Value meaning light and dark. So you're going to squint here, and I can see this has a very dark local tone. This has a very light local tone. This has a very dark local tone against the light fabric. Now, what if I had decided I really wanted to use this little Lego skeleton? Now, he is white and the fabric is a cream, so they have very close local tones. They both have light local tones. So it's really difficult to see him on this light fabric. So if I really wanted to use him, what I could do is I could just take something that has a darker local tone, like this little piece of paper, for instance, and sort of make a little backdrop for him. Do something like that. Now you see, if you squint now, all of a sudden, it's a lot easier to see that skeleton because he has a dark local tone behind him instead of him just being on a light local tone. So when you're choosing your objects and setting up your still life, think about local tones. Don't put a dark object in front of a dark fabric or a light object in front of a light fabric. Think about having the local tones be different so that the objects are more easily readable. Okay, so I've set up my still life, and what I want to do next is I want to light it with a strong light source. The light source that I'm going to use is a lamp, a clamp lamp, but you could use a table lamp, a flashlight if it's a strong one. You can take a lamp with a shade and unscrew the shade off the top and put that next to it. You don't just use the overhead light in your room. You really want to have a direct light source. And what happens is then you can get some really nice, strong highlights and shadows. So I'm gonna play with this a little bit and until I get the highlights and shadows where I like. So I'll play with this a little, but this gives you just a general idea on how to set up a still life. Thinking about local tones, thinking about different baselines, thinking about different textures and man-made and organic objects.